My name is Paul McCowan.
What branch of the service were you in?
I was in the United States Army. I was in from 1966 to 1969.
And what were some of the memorable stories you have from your time in the military?
Well, basic training was fun, a different experience. Jump school was a lot of fun. You run every day, all day. And then at the end of the 3-week course at jump school, its first week is ground week, second week is tower week, third week was jump week. So, got to actually make 5 jumps in the third week of jump school, graduated from that. Went into the Special Forces. Was lucky enough to get sent to Germany. Germany was different and a very good experience. Was involved with training NATO troops in Germany. We got to go to Italy to train the Italian Airborne. And while in Italy, we were sent out in the Mediterranean and picked up by a submarine. And we bobbed around in the Mediterranean for about 3 days on a diesel sub. Everybody got seasick. The whole group that I was with got seasick. And then when we all came back into land, all of us got down and kissed the beach. We were really glad to be there. Got to travel all over Europe. Lucky enough, I bought a motorcycle while I was over there. And got to see quite a bit of Europe on a bike. And then came back to the States, to Fort Devens, Massachusetts. And then that's where I got out of the service in 1969 in July.
Now, what did you find to be most difficult about your time in the military?
Being away from home, missing everybody back here. But then you get accustomed to that. You get over being homesick. But that was probably the hardest part.
And describe the work you did while you were in the service.
Well, I had 3 different jobs. When I first went in, I worked with an engineer company as a draftsman. And then I was sent to the 5th Psychological Warfare Battalion, which was attached to the 10th Special Forces Group. And working with the 5th PSYOPs, we were the people that we created the stuff for psychological warfare. We printed up leaflets. We did recordings that we would play to the enemy and try to get them to surrender. We also dropped leaflets and stuff like that. And then with the 10th group, I did light arms and demolition.
What was the best day that you can remember while you were in the service? Best day you had?
Most people say the day they got out. I don't know, I think it was jump school. Jump school was it's something I always wanted to do, and that I volunteered to be the first guy out of the airplane on the first jump. And leaving that airplane for the first time was great, phenomenal.
Now, what was the worst day that you can remember while you were in the service?
After I landed on that first jump, having to pick all the stuff up and run off the field with it. No, worst day was finding out about a couple of friends of mine that got killed. That was probably one of the worst days.
All right, and who are some of the most memorable people that you served with?
One of the first guys who was at basic training, he was one of our sergeants, Sergeant Andy Anderson. Real nice guy from the South. He never did yell at us at all. He was just a really laid-back guy and took care of us. And come to find out later on, he went to Vietnam right after basic, and he ended up getting killed. And then another one was a Captain Simonis, who was a West Point grad, and he was a really, really good guy.
How do you think that your time in the military has changed you as a person?
Well, it definitely changed me on my direction on what I did in life as far as uh, going through the military airborne school, learning how to jump, and then also taking up sport jumping while I was in the military. And I continued to do that after I got out. And I've been doing jumping since I got out of the military. So that part of the military training definitely had an impact on my life all the way through now.
And what was your life like while you were serving our nation?
What was my life like?
Yeah.
Well, everything was very regimented. You were told, what to do, where to be. You knew what you were going to be doing every day. That was all pretty much set. And then when you had time off, there was a lot of stuff, especially where I was in Europe. I was based in the Bavarian Alps, which I was 5-minute walk from a ski lift in the wintertime. And we would go down there and ski every night. They had night skiing. And during the winter, that's what we'd do. We'd go ski, and then in the summertime, on our off time, we'd go ride our bikes, motorcycle. And it was great. Not hard at all.
And what was boot camp like for you since you were in Special Forces instead of just basic Army?
Well, boot camp, that's just basic training is boot camp. All right. I think that was hard for everybody because again, you're running all the time, marching, doing all the drills, learning all the stuff that the Army is trying to teach you. And then once you get into where you're going to be doing your job, that training is just pretty much like here going to school. You go to school, you learn what you have to do, and then you practice that. So it was okay. It wasn't bad.
All right, and the last question, what was the first thing you did when you returned to civilian life?
I got out of the military in July 24th, 1969. I was in Fort Devens, Massachusetts. I had a car, and I loaded all my stuff up, processed out, got some money, and started driving back from Fort Devens, which brings you back through Massachusetts, New York, and on down into Ohio, Pennsylvania and Ohio. And as I was coming through New York, that's when Woodstock was going on. And there was all kind of people hitchhiking. And I didn't know what it was, anything about it. But that's probably one of the bigger things is the day that I was driving back home, Woodstock was going on. And basically just getting back home, and getting settled down, and getting an apartment, and trying to start a life.